Anyways, I'm making a video to talk about some stuff that's going on in my life. Um, Basically, I have this channel being watched by the FBI, CIA. I intentionally made this channel for that reason. Um, so if you're my adversary, I don't really have adversaries. I have just investigation. I don't like go after people unless they're worth going after. As far as like, uh, I say, if you're a terrorist or something like that. I don't, but I'm not coming after you specifically. I do practical work. I do professional work. Um, I get information, you know. But here's the deal. Uh, there's a world that I've found that existed, and all this started when I was younger. I was about like 20, and there was a club that I went to in Baltimore. It burnt down, and I was about to get a 25-year prison sentence. Well, there's certain organizations that are satanic that would get that information, and I specifically think I'm not blaming the OSA or Scientology, but they're in on this. Like when as soon as they find out something, the OSA is like really they're professional to an extent, but when they have an infiltration into Scientology, it gets really weird. But they find a 25-year prison sentence through the ATF, and what goes on is they already know that so there's potential for people already knowing that you're going to possibly go to prison for 25 years. I didn't do anything. They burned down a couple of days later, and they would just have me as a suspect. But basically, what they'll do is they'll get $1 million, get buy the custody for 280. That's just buying a stock. That's like buying debt. And then say the 25-year prison sentence was $1 million in assets that they had to fund. Those people being some satanic orders like the Cloven Hoof or something like this. I'm not saying the Cloven Hoof did this. I'm just saying that they would do something potential like this because their job is to be a Satanist. And they're I'm not gonna say they're terrible. I'm just saying I don't agree with their concepts. But as far as that, so they would get $1 million because that's the loan that it takes to get you. But why would they just get $1 million? They don't get just $1 million. They would get $6 million in loan so that the compound interest would cover the $1 million. So every month, if they had to pay $500, they would hopefully get out of $6 million on compound interest. They would hopefully get enough to cover that $1 million, and then they would cover that $1 million on $500 a month. So that would hopefully give them $700 a month, so they keep $200 for themselves. This is how this works within the prison system. It's a moneymaker, you know. But what happens when you don't get the prison sentence? You might get thrown into a world that with infiltration connected to the communists and the Communist Party that's particularly satanic, called an Imperium. That's what I believe has happened to me. I had an interesting gentleman yesterday. I know I'm not the only one that suffers from this. I finally met somebody yesterday in the Matrix that has the same problem. We talked about it. I hope I gave him some adequate information that he can go off of, because he was like yelling. He was like, "Hey, yeah, don't you hear that? They're trying to make me be a narc on the people that I don't know about. These people that have drugs." He's like, "They're trying to make me be a narc," and I was like, "That's not what's going on. Basically, they're just trying to kill you because maybe same issue, or maybe he's a Christian, or maybe he's Muslim." And they want to rob the Islamic Secretariat on the principles of if they try to make him a gang member, they scare him into a tactic like, yeah, now you want to be a Crip. You want to be a Crip because you need help. Look, the world's out to get you. Look, the world can be out to get you, but at the same time, if you go be a Crip, one, their rules, they have a culture that you might not know, that once you get there, might be a humiliating culture to you. They're not bad. I'm just saying some people live an alternative lifestyle. That's cool. Okay, not me. I don't. But here's the deal. On their prison write-ups, they connect you to a religion, which is probably Islamic, because let's be honest, Crips are probably Islamic, and that's okay. That's fine. We're in America. That's great. But what's wrong with it is that if you go to prison and you start getting treated poorly because you're not familiar with the culture that comes with that gang and how they work within the prison. Again, I'm not talking anything bad. Crips are wonderful as far as if you're a Crip, and I'm not. But as far as that, and there's nothing wrong with some of their culture. You know, some people just like different things, and that's okay. But when you get there, if like you got into some humiliation issues, you would kill yourself, but you were still technically a Crip because the prison documents affiliated you with a religious organization. But they poured money into that. And once they poured money into that and you commit suicide, what's happening? The satanic write-ups are tricky. They're very, very tricky. and even the Catholic write-ups, the same thing. I just am telling you about something that is relatively, hopefully, it's information that gets you. Um, Hopefully, you understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to down you if you're a Crip. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to scare you away from being a Crip either. I'm just saying, be careful, because I'm just Central Intelligence to a certain degree. I'm not. I'm there for that reason. Um, like, as far as what my profession is, doesn't matter. I don't need to discuss that with you. Right now, I'm doing traffic, which is pretty good. But as far as that, but once you get there, if you're humiliated, it might inspire somebody to be so humiliated that they commit suicide. Once you commit suicide in Islam, you are excommunicated. That's what the rules are. Same with Catholicism. All that paperwork affiliated with your gang application that dump money into your stay and into what America does best, and America does proper facilitation, considering you're a prisoner, and they try to sponsor you as a religious person to try to help you because they hopefully plan on you getting out and being a proper, decent person within government, and facilitating you with a plug-in, and because religion is important. But the satanic write-ups, they're not going to give you a dime. They're going to be like, you know what? That person died by suicide. I'll pay the corporate on my vested interest within my write-ups. But as far as paying the mosque or Islam anything, we're not. Look, we help sponsor that. Yes, we're part of the loan, but as far as that, we don't pay anything because it is it's technically against the law because he's excommunicated. So what would we be paying for? We don't need to pay you anything. This is the danger of what's going on out here, and I got rigged into this. And it's got so far. What I'm starting to learn is this is going on, and they're starting to rig in the world to almost a zeitgeist concept. And you would say this is conspiracy. This is not conspiracy. There's certain things that you have to be aware of. Like when you start looking into it, I figured out that the Ritz Carlton Hotel Laguna Niguel and the Mission Church of Orange County, or the cathedral, was the original Hotel California. I found this out in the Five Crown Valley corridor is in the song, in the dark there's a highway. They keep going into that, and then had to find the corridor. It's the Five Crown Valley corridor, and it's the Ritz Carlton, and it says the girl with the Mercedes Benz. She got a lot of pretty friends that she called. She got a lot of pretty boys that she called friends. That is a Nazi reference from when the Nazis took over the Ritz Carlton in France back in the day, 1940. I don't know what the hell, 18 whatever. I don't know when the Nazis were around. And then it says that we are programmed to receive. That program went into the California Ziggurat. Now they have the No Committee, and then you have what you have is it's supposed to be a good thing. It's an organization that is called Technical No Committee within the Ziggurat of California. But what I see going on is it plugs into AI and a satellite program, and it's supposed to watch for Homeland Security, gang, and monitor. And it can even be a good thing. It can even put you once you get out, it can even plug you into a lifestyle. There's a song called Schoolboy McCoy or whatever. It's called Heaven is California, and he says he was looking for heaven and you found fig. And that's what a fig is. That's an operation within psyops. It's a good song. You gotta go check it out. It's called Schoolboy McCoy, Heaven is California. Words are really deep. Pay attention to the rap part when he talks about fig. But that program, if you think about it, the Ritz Carlton in France was starting to be used as an asset holder for the SS. So it infiltrated into America, and this has gone big, and it's gone so big to where it is a imperium. It's an imperium influx, hidden in plain sight. And Homeland doesn't really understand what's going on. That's why I've made some submissions, try to do my diligence. And as far as that, the next worst thing is that all those transmitting utilities is being overshadowed by mappingmilitants.org, which was the National Science Foundation gave a loan. If I would get, I don't know how much they are involved within their plugs and how much they sponsor this, but it's even more. It's like enough to overshadow Homeland Security almost. But it's labeled extremist supposedly, but it does say mapping militant programs. Header, all this stuff being brought. I say this time after time after time. The information is right in front of you. Um, Learn how to open your eyes, learn how to see what's going on, and learn what is about to happen to America if they don't change. If we don't change, I'm an American. If we don't change some of these things and wake up, um, the potential is disastrous. And I know this is why I made this channel, to be a rant about this, but all the information is right there. I even believe I found $65 billion on extremist node within mapping militant organizations or mappingmilitants.org that is going on the edge of India, because it's right, it's on extremist node. India does a great job at UCC transmitting utility, everything. It's like China on steroids, but they're very nice people. Imagine, if you think that the Indian Hindus are a threat, think again, because this reason. They have every bit of nukes. If they want to just blow up, yes, against the Geneva Corporate. I mean, I don't really see them taking over anything. But the Temple of Blood, using the Order 9 Angles, using the Temple of Blood, which was the FBI informant, into Homeland Security, and now it's fucked off. Yeah, I can see that being a big problem, because they have Libra 333, and Libra 333 is the 333 BCE, when the Sanhedrin was a greater Sanhedrin. They believe in Zychism, Satanism, and all these other concepts. And they do want to take over the Sanhedrin, or they're already in the Sanhedrin, sitting on the Temple of Them in Australia, running transmitting utilities, hidden. Sanhedrin might be their best friend. I don't know their agenda. I'm not saying they're bad, but just let's get real. They're I don't know what they are as far as like their national or what, but they don't like. I would imagine they don't like Christians or Hindus, or in the long run. What's even worse is when a Nazi empire wants to sit on top of that, with Temple of Blood, but the Order of Angles controlling it to where now it'd just be called an imperium. And I think that's really what's going on and happening, because the Temple of Them, if you really translate it to English, it's the direct thing. If you type in, what does Temple of Them mean, or what does it say? It means the Sanhedrin. The word for word, if you said Sanhedrin in Israel or Hebrew or whatever the hell, Ivrit, then you would have a translation that would in English be Temple of Them. And it's very direct. Satanism is very direct, but because they have to be. Originally, Satanism was to help be a buffer zone between alternate cultures that are threatening before it reaches to the church or anything like that, or to mainstream society. But so much stuff is going on. I think somebody took some satellites or something. Anyways, but this is real. This is the channel that rants about it. Thank you for listening.